Hello, my sweet little buckets of love. Let's take a few cleansing breaths together. Deep breath in through the nose, softly out of the mouth. Deep breath in again through the nose, softly out of the mouth. Last time, deep breath in, hold it at the top. Soften your shoulders, soften your jaw, soften the space in between your eyebrows. When I say one, let out a nice sigh. 3, 2, 1. So today I want to talk about offerings. I feel like with the rise in, witch talk and spiritual TikTok and just the rise in social media spirituality in general, there's a lot of conflicting ideas or confusing things for people who are both sides of the coin. For people who are new on the spiritual path, but also for people that have been on the path for a long time, and then you're seeing all of this information be put out and you're like, well, wait, I don't do this or I do this. And you see one, blog post or video that says you should be doing this. And then you see another blog post or video and it says you should be doing that. So the reason why I really want to talk about offerings is to just kind of clear some things up. But also, as we work with the wheel of the year, right, we're working with cyclically living. Because we're working with the turning of the earth. We're working with these ancient ways where all of our ancestors have always made offerings, right? And if you want to really even boil it down to something else that doesn't contain paganism or anything in the devotion to the earth, right? And those type of arts, look at all different religions. Religions are constantly giving offerings, but they don't like to, there are some religions, right? Like if you go to certain pujas for like the Hindi religions, there are offerings and they will say, this is an offering. When I lived in Mexico, right, for the Day of the Dead, there are so many offerings happening. And for them, usually in Mexico, or at least where I had lived at that time, Catholicism was really what they had followed. So there are just so many different ways that people have been giving offerings since the beginning of time. But how can we give offerings to what we believe in that feels good for us and our bodies, right? And our hearts and our minds. So where to even begin? So the reason why I'm not actually showing you anything, I am literally just going to talk to you today, is because I feel like on the internet, there's so many people that are like, do this simmer pot with me, give this offering to your ancestors with me. I'm not going to do any of that. I am not even going to show you what my offerings at this point in time look like. I'm just going to tell you about them because I want you to be able to take sovereignty over your decision and give the offerings that you would like. But I'm going to give you some examples. The first thing I want to start off with saying is, why are we giving offerings? There's a few reasons. One, as a way to pay gratitude, as a way to continue to stay humble, and give thanks, really, right, for what it is that we believe in. I don't give a fuck what you believe in. God, Krishna, Jah, the earth, this fucking hammock, for all I care. What you have faith in is what we give offerings to. But this is a very important thing. I have seen many people along the years. They are constantly asking, they're asking the angels, right? Like where I grew up, you're always asking St. Anthony to help you find something that you've lost. But when the fuck is the last time that you gave an offering to St. Anthony, right? Or you say, ancestors, watch over me and help this manifestation happen. Have you given them an offering? Have you offered them something, anything? And obviously I'm going to explain what all those things are, but this is the first question I want to pose to you is, wherever you're at on your spiritual journey, wherever you're at on your self-help journey, your life journey, I guarantee you that you ask certain things to guide you and for blessings. Have you ever given an offering to receive that blessing? Especially when it gets into ancestral work. Now, I'm making this video, for those of you that live in the Northern Hemisphere, Beltane is coming up. But for those of us, I am in that. For those of us in the Southern Hemisphere, we're actually coming up on Samhain or Samhain. There is such a huge discourse on the word, and you guys, I will go much deeper into it when you guys get to celebrate that around Halloween. But we're coming up on the veils being the thinnest that they will be. There's twice a year where the veils, they say the veils, right? So what are the veils? Because, okay, I recognize some of you might be like, what does that mean? So when we say the veils are the thinnest, we mean that the veils between the earth plane and the spiritual plane. And the reason why I'm doing multiple in a row, there are so many different planes that connect them. But say, just for your mind's eye, we've got the earth plane, and then right around that we have the spirit plane, right? So there's this in-between area. It's the thinnest that it will be. And so when the veils are the thinnest, the twice a year that we're coming up on is the first time that it'll happen in this year. And then again in October, it will happen. We're able to connect with the spirit realm much easier, quote unquote. Okay. Because for the people that are like my one-to-one clients that we work on like their psychic abilities and connection with the spirit realm, I've been talking with the dead since I'm about 3 years old. I don't recognize that there's a time of the year when the spirits are talking to me more. But maybe for people just starting out, they might find that it's easier these 2 times a year. It's really debatable. It is subjective, if you will. But as we come up on these thin veil times of the year, I really want us to take a look at what we are giving to these spirits to receive their blessings and guidance in return. Let's take a deep breath because it's already been 7 minutes. Deep breath in. Let out a nice sigh. What does an offering look like? And what type of offerings do we make for different deities, spirits, yada yadas? One of my favorite things that I do, I'm just going to start spitballing things that I do and ideologies that come along with this. The one that I feel like when I work with my clients that makes them understand, you know how there's the story that there was frankincense and myrrh that was brought when baby Jesus was born? That was an offering. So that's like the simplest way that I can show you that there's an offering. If you are Catholic or Christian and you went to church, they pass around a basket at some point and the church is asking for an offering. That specific basket is asking for monetary offerings. But there are so many different ways that we can give offerings, like them bringing frankincense and myrrh. Obviously, our ancestors in earlier time periods, although money was a thing, a lot of the offerings that we'll find in stories and folklore tend to be food-like offerings, herb-like offerings, much more metaphysical offerings, in my opinion. Rather than today, people think offerings, oh, I have to give an offering to the church, I have to make a donation. I have to give an offering to the temple, I have to make a donation. Like last night, my partner and I, we went to a kirtan. Currently, I'm in Colombia, but I live in Peru. But I'm visiting Colombia, and we went to a gathering, a kirtan gathering that was also a gathering for something else that I won't go deep into. And we gave a monetary offering to the temple because we wanted to. We could have brought flowers. We could have done anything. But we decided we wanted to give a monetary offering because there were a lot of young devotees that live there. And so specifically in some of these Hindi traditions, right? A lot of these, or even if you ever go to Thailand, the monks, the way that they eat is by the offerings that they get because they have no money to go buy food, right? And so in the mornings, like early in the morning, like 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, you'll see the monks, and you'll know that they're a monk, one, because of the robe that they're wearing, and they're usually shoeless, and they will walk around with a basket. And me, as someone who is not a monk or a devotee in that sense, I would usually buy a lot of fresh fruits or other types of food. They do, specifically in northern Thailand, love to smoke banana leaf cigarettes. So sometimes I would buy those, and you would just put it inside of the basket of the monk. And the monk would usually bow to you as a sign of respect and gratitude, and sometimes give you a blessing, and then they would go on their way. When we give offerings, I know that people get confused because they feel like, oh, if I'm making an offering to my ancestor is 100% going to do what I ask of them. I want you to pause there and think about when you do something kind for your friend. Do you expect something in return? Instantly, right away. Offerings do not, if you make an offering, it does not mean that your wish will be granted, right? These are not magic genie wishes, although I think we wish they were. We have to be realistic about these types of things. So bringing it back, what are some of the offerings that we can leave out? So one of my favorite things to do that I know that my community loves to see, which I think is really beautiful, is when I host my cacao ceremonies. There's two things that I do. In the land that I'm on. So let's talk about land offerings, right? It is unbelievably important to offer things to the land at which you are on. I could go down the whole rabbit hole, and I'm not going to do that right now for the sake of understanding offerings on a surface level. But for me, who's a plant medicine facilitator, and I host plant medicine retreats and work with indigenous communities, it's so important to give back to the land from which these medicines come from. In the same breath, it's extremely important when, and this is my own belief, who the fuck am I, but this is my own belief, that when I am serving medicine somewhere, so the only medicine that I serve is cacao, but when I serve that medicine, it's important for me to make an offering to the land and to ask the land to connect with me and to bring in the spirit of where I get my medicine from. So my medicine comes from Quillabamba, Peru. That's where it comes from. Years ago, if you've been sitting with me since 2019, 2020, my medicine came from Guatemala. Now all of my medicine comes from Peru. And it's extremely important for me to take a moment to connect with a tree. Trees are alive. And now there's going to be some of you that are going to say, I live in a city. So did I, bitch. So did I. Lived in Staten Island. We got about a fucking 2x4 patch of grass and a singular tree. All right. That's all I had at my mother's house. And, for the cacao ceremony, what I would do, the first thing is I would go to the tree before ceremony starts. As I'm in ceremony prep, as the space is being prepared and I'm cooking the medicine, I go outside. And one of my favorite things to do is to dress up a tree. It makes me so sad to think about all of the trees in the world that don't get offerings. So I take a bouquet of flowers, and usually I would go outside. And again, I'm not showing you photos, videos, and anything because I want you to use your mind's eye to imagine this so you can do it for yourself. Because I don't want you to look at something that I've done and be like, I have to do it exactly how Dan did it. No, not the point. There are specific offerings that need to be done to a T, but we will talk about those in a second. So bringing it back to the tree, I get the bouquet and I decorate the tree. Obviously, I'm not climbing the motherfucking tree in Staten Island, New York, okay? I'm decorating the base of the tree. Do the petals fly all over the place? Of course they do, because it's the middle of the winter and there's wind, and now I got rose petals in the front of all of my neighbors' houses, right? But I will offer to the tree and I will talk to the tree. One of the most beautiful things that you can do when it comes to an offering is using your fucking voice. The earth specifically loves it. You don't have to sing, you can just talk. And so when I dress the tree, usually I'll talk to the tree and let the tree know what day of the week it is, how many people are coming for ceremony. If I'm doing this for a cacao ceremony, there are many times where I have offered things to trees that I'm not doing ceremony. So keep that in mind as well. They're just a regular Tuesday that I'm like, you need this. But no matter what, talking to the tree. If you're like, Dan, I don't have a tree, I don't have a patch of grass, go to a park, choose a tree, bring some flowers, and either literally lay the flowers at the base of the tree. You don't have to, like me, I'm like picking apart all the things. I'm trying to make a little mandala around the tree. You don't have to do all that shit. But then for me, once I'm done with ceremony and I let people know that they can join me. And I did have someone last year at one of our retreats after the cacao ceremony want to join me in offering the rest of the cacao back to the tree. When I'm serving a big group of people, I normally make much more medicine than I need because it's always better to be safe than sorry, right? And I offer the medicine back to the tree, thanking the tree, thanking the land. Because if you've never read the book, The Secret Life of Trees, 10 out of 10, highly recommend. Trees all talk to each other. They are a community underneath our earth, right? And as long as you guys stay in this beautiful membership for the next year, you'll hear me talk a lot more about the connection that happens underneath our feet with the connection of trees and the mycelium connection. But the trees talk to one another. And even when I was in Staten Island, New York, or when when I serve medicine at our retreats in Peru, I'm about 6 hours from Quillabamba. I'm in Urubamba. That's where I live. And I'm about 6 hours from there. But if you set the intention and ask the tree to connect, the tree will connect. I'm kind of going on a tangent. We're going to bring it back. So that's one thing you can do. Offerings to the land. What's another thing that I tell people? You probably have ashes from incense. All right. If you are a person who likes to burn incense, if you're a person who likes to burn pieces of paper and shit like that, you probably have it in a little cauldron or an ashtray. Give the ash back to the land. Dump it on, some sand, or dump it on some grass. Give these things back to the land. The beautiful thing about when you make offerings to the earth, and I just recently spoke to one of you inside of this membership about this, is that the earth is a neutralizer, right? So many times people want to charge their crystals and moon water, right? And crystals and water, and they want to put it underneath the moon. The moon has a very intense energy. The earth is very neutralizing. Father Sky has a lot of power. Not going to go into it. Probably will in another class with you guys, but not right now. Father Sky has a lot of power. Mother Earth, yes, has a lot of power, but the earth itself is extremely neutralizing. Now I'm going to move into something else. I'm going to talk about ancestral offerings. Or if you've been to any of my classes, because some of you I know me, or some of you have looked at my social media, food offerings, ancestral offerings. On my ancestral altar, specifically, there's a cup of water. There's usually a shot of some sort. There is a glass of wine. Those broads love wine. They love coffee, right? If I am serving cacao at a ceremony, there's a cup of cacao on the altar for the ancestors that choose to join us in the space. I'm not going to go deep into the ancestors, but not all your ancestors are good people, and not all your ancestors are looking out for you. So if you've never done ancestral work before, but you want to learn a little bit more about it, let me know in some way that you can comment on this video, and I can make another teaching about ancestral healing, because there's a lot that goes with it. But on the ancestral altar, there's a lot of stuff that stays on there. Yes, do I make coffee every week or every few days for my ancestral altar? 150%. when I pass on, I hope someone's putting a fucking cup of tea on there. Now, if you know your ancestors and you know what they like one of my grandfathers, I know exactly how he likes his coffee. One of my grandmothers is still alive, and I asked her, I said, when you die, she's 89, she's killing it. I said, when you die, what do you want offered? She's like, I want you to buy me Lorna Doone cookies. I want you to make me a cup. I'm like, she's asking for a lot here. But what a blessing it is that I get to ask her before she transitions to the next side. So I know exactly what she wants. Someone that passed away last year in my life, it's going to be their first heavenly birthday on the 19th of April. And they loved candy and loved soda. So I will definitely have an offering on the altar of a bowl of candy and soda for them for their birthday. You don't have to, if you don't know your ancestors, you don't have to have specific things. But you can put a glass of water on your altar or whatever you... Leave another comment. Do you want to know about altar making? Okay. Because I can really go deep into that because all altars look very different. I always seem to have 3 altars in my home and they all are different. You don't even need to have one altar. That's what I'm saying. Comment below if you like, or comment somewhere if you would like to know more about that. So you leave those offerings up there as a way to respect these people and who they are. And again, talk to them. Don't just put the cup of water down and walk away. Sing them a fucking song. Or don't sing them a song. Put music on for them. If you know what type of music, if you know where you're from and where your ancestors are from, put that music on. Call them into the space in protective ways if you already do ancestral work, right? So that's a way to make an offering. Now, let's get a little bit more specific because I know there are going to be people that are going to say, no, but there are times when offerings need to be very specific. Let's take a deep breath in, deep breath out. Yes, 150%. So if any of you are from the Hoodoo traditions, so our beautiful friends that come mainly from, they're like the Creole people that come from Louisiana in the South in the United States. Hoodoo traditions, I would never recommend somebody just like loosey-goosey gets into hoodoo. My partner is a Norse pagan. And even in Norse paganism, there are very specific things that you need to do for specific deities. I don't recommend that you just jump into it willy-nilly. There are things that you can jump into willy-nilly, like making an offering to the earth, making an offering to your ancestors that love you. If you pray to, angels and archangels, leaving things out for them, right? Like the easiest example I could give you is like, Archangel Michael, right? And the color blue, getting a blue candle to represent Archangel Michael and lighting it saying, this is an offering for you. This fire is for you. Ooh, we could even talk about despacho ceremonies and stuff like that. And that's a major offering, right? Like we offer to the waters, we offer to the fire. I constantly, when I lived in New York, brought offerings to the ocean of flowers. Now in Peru, in the mountains, I bring it to mountain sites. Sometimes I bring it to the river that we have that runs through the valley. So bringing it back to like the Hoodoo traditions and the Norse pagan traditions, there are specific deities that require specific offerings. And if you want to work with some of these certain deities, I do recommend finding practitioners that like, this is their jam. Like my partner is a Norse pagan. This is what he has studied. And these are the deities that he works with. He came with me to Kirtan last night, but he does not sit with any of the Hindu deities. He comes because he loves community and he loves to support communities that do good work. But for him, when he sits down to pray, the Norse pantheon is who he's calling in, and that's who he's working. And that's one of the altars that we have in our home. And so there are specific traditions that if you don't know how to work with the energy, I don't recommend leaving out offerings for them. Like some of the African traditions, like Mami Wata. When I started working with her, I had to take a lot of time to find practitioners that specifically worked with her to be like, she keeps showing up in my dreams. I keep waking up thinking of her. She keeps coming to me in meditations, but I don't know how to work with her. I had to dig my way to find practitioners that were like, I can point you in the direction of this person. Do this, don't do this. Now, you also might be sitting here being like, okay, Dan, so what the fuck do I do? Take what I'm also saying with a grain of salt, right? I want you to know that working with energy is a very important thing that we choose to do, but I also don't want you to throw it out the window. So if there's a deity that's coming to you, a god or a goddess that is showing up, look into what tradition they're from. Google it. Google is everywhere. Try to find exactly the person that is coming to you. After you do that, look into the tradition that it comes from. It's quite easy to make offerings to angels and archangels, as well as other Hindu deities. There are some Celtic traditions that are much easier to work with. The easiest thing you can do in terms of offerings is recognize and understand that you are an offering in and of itself. Make a prayer, not asking for anything, but of gratitude to what it is that you believe in. Your journey is your offering. You are here for a reason. You being alive and connecting with the universe, great spirit, whatever it is that you call it, is extremely important. When we think, I want to make an offering to like the people that come on our retreats, when they say, or when we say, if you would like to bring an offering to offer to the plant medicine servers, right? So we either have a maestra or a maestro come from the jungle to serve ayahuasca. Dylan serves the San Pedro and the combo, and I serve the cacao. And we let them know, these are the types of offerings that these plant spirits tend to enjoy. Specifically for ayahuasca, if you don't know, they smoke a lot of mapacho. Mapacho is tobacco from the jungle. And I've had multiple people say to me before, I want to put something on my altar, but I don't know what to put. You can buy a pack of cigarettes and put it on your altar. That's a beautiful thing to do. And offer it to whoever is watching over you. It doesn't need to be, I bought this tobacco for ayahuasca. It can be, I bought this to offer to those that watch over me, that love and care for me, and place it down. And that's it. Bada bam. It doesn't have to be that difficult, especially when we're first starting out. And sometimes we get super deep along the path and we learn, right? Like the specific, this has to be for this person and this has to be for that person. And that color is for this angel and this color is for that angel. And then we overcomplicate it. I want spirituality to be something that is exciting to you. There are certain things that we need to respect and honor in traditions, but we can also keep things really simple. And sometimes it's important to bring that simplicity back in so that we can enjoy it and we don't get too wrapped up in, oh my God, what am I doing right and what am I doing wrong? I've given you a lot of information. Let's take another deep breath here. Deep breath out. You being alive is an offering. Talk to those that watch over you. Sing to those that you have faith in. Leave bowls of water out for whoever it is you believe in. When you eat your food, make a small plate for your altar and offer it to your ancestors. And hopefully your dog doesn't eat it, because there was a class that I did for the autumn equinox years ago. And as we were in ceremony, my dog ate the offering that was on the altar. And that's okay. None of us did anything wrong. And everyone joked that, well, she's maybe someone's ancestor. And so she took the offering. Please leave your questions, comments, concerns, and what you would like to dive into more. Have a beautiful, blessed day. So many blessings to you and to yours, and I'll see you soon.